Hey guys, and welcome back to another dungeon. Sorry it's been a while, but we're back now. Back into the how to play videos. Now, I'm going to be doing today's on this little table, because the table's covered in rubbish. Hey Tom. Today's video is going to be the asynchronous deck building game, Android Netrunner. It's a fantastic game from Fantasy Flight Games. It's set in the dystopian future of the Android universe, and I'm not going to go into all the lore surrounding that, as it's meant to be just a gameplay vid. But if you're interested, it's well worth checking out. It's really interesting. Pretty standard sci-fi fare, but well designed and integrated in the games. The artwork is just fantastic as well, and that's reflected on all the cards and everything. It's a great looking game. By asynchronous, I mean that unlike other trading card games, like say Might and Magic, Card Wars, Pokemon, etc. That's better. Unlike those games, each player uses a distinctly different set of rules and play area to win the game. With such variation in play styles, knowing how to play both sides of the game is exceptionally important. Not just knowing what moves your other character might have, but knowing how they will be attacking you, how they will be trying to get your... It's sort of hard to explain without giving you a proper rundown, but I'm guessing if you're interested in Android Netrunner and you're watching this, you probably already know the basics. Either way, we're going to go through it all in detail in this video. You're split into two sides. One, the corporation, and the other side are runners, which are essentially hackers. The corporation must establish, advance, and protect cards to earn agendas, while the runner's job is to bypass or destroy the corporation's defences and steal those agendas. The game's considered won when either side gets 7 points, or it's considered lost when one of the conditions of defeat is met. The runner can lose the game by flatlining, dying, and the corporation loses if its draw deck is ever depleted. Netrunner can be played right out of the box and comes with a decent number of style variations for you to play with. There's a bunch of corporations and a whole bunch of runners as well. What's even better about it though is that once you've learnt how to play using the different core sets, it's a deck building game. So you get enough cards in here to use what you've learned and build your own deck, and then if you're interested in it past that, you can actually go out and buy one of the many expansions and stuff and build your game even further. It's one of those tough ones where you want to get into the base set, like Star Wars Miniatures or Star Trek Attack Wing. You buy the base set and you go, oh, cool, I love this, and okay, to play a decent game, I'm going to need to spend another $100, $200. This has everything you need to play a starter game, to play everything you need to get going, and it's really good. I'm not going to go into deck building in this video because this is just a how to play vid. Deck building is a whole other thing itself, but look, if you've played enough, if you play a few games of it, you'll know enough and you'll know how to deck build. Anyway, I'll chuck the camera down and we'll get started with the corporation. As the corporation goes first, we'll start by looking at them. There are 4 different corporations in the core set, each with a unique identity which determines core gameplay elements such as the cards available, size of the deck you can use, if deck building, and the player's special ability. For this demo, we'll be playing with the Jinteki Corporation. Now the important parts on that... Come on. We'll get rid of these guys. And... the important parts on this card to note are these 2 numbers down here. They indicate your maximum deck size and your, I believe it's called influence points. They both relate to deck building. The maximum deck size is pretty self-explanatory, and the influence indicates how many cards from a different corporation you can have in your deck. More important for this pretty straightforward demo is this bit of information down the bottom. Now for Jinteki, it says whenever an agenda is scored or stolen, do 1 net damage. So that's just something I'm going to have to remember. Not a strong point for me, for those of you who've seen any of the other videos. And that's something I'll just have to remember as we play. The corporation's play area is divided into a conceptual server farm, probably because they're stereotypical sci-fi corporations. Each server is represented by a card or a pile of cards, and each must be individually defended or augmented. At the start of the game, the corporation places their identity card in front of them. This represents your first server, the headquarters server. The remaining cards are shuffled and placed as a draw deck immediately to the right of this. This is referred to as your research and development server. If you ever run out of cards on this draw deck, you instantly lose the game, so you want to be careful of that, although there are a lot of cards in there, so that'd be a long game. The space to the right of that is your discard pile, which obviously is empty at the start of the game. The space to the right of this is where your discard pile will be. Initially empty, this represents your archive server. During the game, cards will be placed face up and face down in this space, and as you can see, I'm following the best practice that the instruction book advised and placing my face down cards, I guess you'd say landscape, and my face up cards portrait. The reason for that is that at any point during the game, you or the runner are able to look through and reorder this deck. You're able to view all the cards, whereas the runner may only view those face up. There is one instance where the runner is able to see them as well, however, by default, they aren't. These three servers are compulsory, never vary, and are referred to as your central servers. Your central servers are essential to stopping the runner, but in themselves won't help you score any agenda points. The only way to earn agenda points is by installing additional servers. These are placed to the left of your identity server and are called remote servers. But Dave, how do you install remote servers? Well, I'm glad you asked. The corporation has 5 different card types in their deck, each of which serves a very specific purpose. The first 2 corporation card types are agendas and asset cards. Agenda cards are the only cards in the game that are worth agenda points. These are installed in your remote servers face down like so, and have an advancement requirement which must be met before they can be scored. The advancement requirement is indicated by this number in the top right hand corner. I'll go into the details of advancing cards later, but each time you use an action to advance it, you place one of these advanced tokens on the card. Once you've met this number requirement down here, in this case 3, you can consider that card scored and you place it in, well, wherever you've decided the score area for cards is going to be. That's probably a stupid spot because it's, you can't see the video. Anyway, pick a spot and that's where you keep it. So the corporation just scored 3 points for that agenda card in that instance. Most agenda cards have additional information down the bottom, which is mostly applicable once scored. For example, this priority requisition agenda allows me to res a piece of ice when I score it at no cost. I'll explain more about what resing is later on. Assets are support cards, designed to assist you in advancing or scoring your agendas. These cards are also installed face down, which is what netrunners refer to as unresed. In order to use the main action of this card, they must first be resed. To res a card, you must pay the res cost, indicated up in the top corner here. So for this one, it's 0. That's pretty cheap. Asset cards are great for deception, however. Take this Project Junebug card. It states at the top of the text section that it can be advanced. Now the action of this card is that when a runner accesses it, you may deal 2 net damage for each advancement token on the card. But that's not where the deception lies. Remember how the runner can only score points by stealing agendas from you? While the asset is face down, you could place advancement tokens on it. I'll make them red so they're easier to see on the corp card. This makes it look like you're advancing an agenda, which may trick the runner into trying to break into that server instead of working on another server, say where your agenda really is. Regardless of your strategy, you must plan to be attacked. If a runner completes a run on any one of your servers, they're able to perform various actions. If they succeed in a run on headquarters, they may select and review a random card from your hand as well as any upgrades on that server. I'll run through upgrades after. They may steal any agenda they find, which means they basically If they pull an agenda out of your hand, it's theirs. They get the points straight away. Or they can pay the trash cost and trash your cards and return whatever cards are left to your hand. If they complete a run on research and development, they're able to draw the top card from the draw pile as well as any upgrades on the server, and then steal or trash as desired. Unless a card specifically states that they must show it, they then return all the cards to their places without showing you what they were. If the runner makes a successful run on archives, which would be a waste of time right now, they may view all cards in the archive file, including the ones face down, as well as any upgrades on the server. Any agendas they find are immediately stolen, and they may trash any of the upgrades. They cannot trash any cards that they find in the discard pile, however, as, well, they're already discarded, so there wouldn't be much point. If a runner has a successful run at one of your remote servers, they immediately view all cards and upgrades in the server. But not ICE, which I'll also run through after. As with other runs, they have the option to trash or steal cards before returning them back to where they were. So as you can see, the effects of these runs are very important when planning your strategy, which is where these next two card types come into play: ICE and server upgrades. ICE is a defensive card designed to protect you against runners' attacks. ICE is installed resed above a server. I'll get rid of all these stupid tokens. That brain damage is in the wrong spot. Anyway. So it's installed above the servers and can be stacked in order to provide a stronger defense. While it might seem smart to stack loads and loads of ICE in front of a server, there is a catch to make it less appealing. Each time you install a new piece of ICE on the server, you must pay 1 credit per piece of ICE already on this server. So, if I wanted to install a piece of ICE on my research and development, that doesn't cost me a thing. This one cost me 1 credit. This one cost me 2 credits, and so on. In a game of Android Netrunner, players sit opposite each other, and when the runner decides to make a run at one of your servers, they must do it in a direct line, bypassing or destroying all your ICE before gaining access to your server. Unlike other cards, ICE can only be resed when the runner is making an attack. Once resed, the runner must bypass all the subroutines on that card, else resolve their effect. For example, if the runner were to attack a server protected by this Wall of Thorns card, I could pay 8 credits, up there, to res the ICE and force them to deal with it. If they were unable to bypass all the subroutines, then they would have to resolve the effects. In this case, they would receive 2 net damage and then end their run, which marks their run as a fail. You may have noticed this little icon at the bottom of the card. Some cards have a specific affiliation. In the case of Wall of Thorns, we can see that it's showing the tree logo, meaning it's aligned to Jinteki. For this game, all my cards have a Jinteki or neutral alignment, but if we were deck building, we would add this influence value to our deck total. If our influence total for the deck exceeded the value indicated on the identity card here, then we would have to lower it until it was underneath. This is a good way to balance decks, but something more relevant when deck building. Upgrades are a support card which is installed unresed underneath a server. Get rid of that. Move this up a little bit. So say I wanted to install an upgrade on this server here. I would install it like so. In Netrunners, this area is called root. As with the other cards, they have a res cost shown in the upper top left, and the effect the card once resed is shown here. This card also has a trash cost. Actually, so did Project Junebug. If a runner encounters a card with a trash cost, they've got the option of paying that cost to trash the card. Trashing a card is different from just discarding it. Trashing actually removes it from the game rather than places it in that pile. In the case of Akitaro Watanabe, this upgrade, when installed, lowers the cost of installing resing ice on that server by 2. So if it will cost 3 to res some ice, it now only costs 1. Pretty good card. The final card type the corporation has is the operations card. Operations are played by paying this cost here, and the results take effect immediately. In the case of Neural EMP, you can pay 2 credits to do 1 net damage if the runner made a run on their last turn. Operation cards are trashed as soon as they're played, which remember is different from discarded. So that's what everything is and how it works. Let's get set up and take you through how to play a standard turn as the corporation. So we've got our central servers for headquarters, R&D, and a space for archives all good to go. Next we grab 5 credits. You'll notice there's individual credits, or you can grab a 5 credit token. We'll go individual for this. And a click tracker card. This is basically in case you have trouble counting to 3. You can use it to monitor how many actions you've got left. There's also a useful reference card which lists all the available actions that you can perform on your turn. You should also allocate a space. The instruction manual advises down here, which is where you will put all your scored agendas. This is just so you can see who has how many points, as scored or trashed agendas don't go into the archives. Next, you draw a hand of 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then, if you're me, you hold them like this. And if you're a pro, you shuffle them and continually move them and do stuff like this. And always move them, and it's really hard to watch. But I'd imagine it's really good in distracting your opponent. If you don't like the cards that you've got, you can actually take a mulligan. You just shuffle the 5 cards you've got back into the deck and draw a new hand. You're only allowed to do this once though. So if you don't like your second hand, tough luck. At the start of your turn, draw 1 card from the top of the deck and add it to your hand. You may then perform 3 clicks worth of actions. Still is hard to see on that side. You can use the click tracker to monitor how many actions you've performed, or if you prefer, just do it in your head. The first action you can perform, which costs 1 click, is you can draw another card from research and development and put it into your hand. The second action you can perform is spend 1 click and get 1 extra credit. The third action you can perform is you can install an agenda, an upgrade, or a piece of ice. So an agenda you would install... I'll put this over here. Agenda you would install as a new server, new remote server. Piece of ice you would install above like that. You can install a piece of ice above an empty server. That just means you've got a server there that isn't doing anything. I'm not entirely sure why you'd do it unless you wanted to build up a defensive ice before putting down your agendas, I suppose. Either way, that costs you 1 click and you just install it as so. The next thing you can do is you can play an operation, costs 1 click, play your operation card, resolve the effects. You can also spend 1 click and 1 coin and advance a card. So I had that there and I wanted to advance it. Or if you had a virus token on your card, you could actually play 3 clicks and get rid of all your virus counters. The last thing you can do is you can play 1 click and 2 coins, and you can trash one of the runner's resource cards. You can only do that if you've tagged the runner, and we'll go through how to tag runners later on. Once you're done with that, you've got to bring your hand back down to a maximum of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if I had 6 cards in my hand, which shouldn't be possible because I had 5, drew 1 and installed 1. I've just let you know that I had a little secret stash of cards over here. Oh well, pretend that's not there. If I had 6 cards in my hand, I'd have to discard 1 face down to bring my hand back down to 5. And that's the end of my turn, and it would now be the runner's turn. If the runner decides to make a run on one of your servers, you have a few options. So you've got some res dice on there, and some unres dice. You don't have to do anything with res dice, as that's something they must resolve. If they hit an unresed piece of ice, however, you have the option to either pay its cost and res it, or leave it unresed and allow them to bypass it. You're able to make this decision, so you had 3 bits, you're able to make this decision each time they come across a resed piece of ice. You don't have to make the decision now for those 2 together or anything like that. So you might choose not to res a particular bit of ice that you know that they can get past if you think you can stop them down here. Alternatively, you may notice they don't have enough credits or resources to get past all the subroutines in these cheaper ice. So you decide to leave your unbreakable ice resed down here. So you do res that one, knowing that they're not going to make it that far, and that will stop them on a subsequent run. And that's pretty much all there is to the corp side. So I'll gather up these cards and set up the table to show you how to play through as a runner. The runner's base setup is very similar to the corporation's. However, in the Netrunner universe, computers have advanced to the point where traditional interfaces have been replaced with neurobiological alternatives. As such, your cards represent both your computer system and the biological aspects of your hacker. As the runner, your play area is divided as follows. First, as with the corporation, you place your identity card in the centre of the table. Similar to the corporation, it lists a name, values for deck building down here, and a special persistent skill you'll be able to use in the game. In this case, I'm playing as Kate McCaffrey, and her skill is that I can lower the install cost of the first program or piece of hardware you install each turn by 1, which is pretty cool. The runner identity cards also have this base link value in the top left. While the corporation spends most of its time defending, there are opportunities where it may attack via tags and traces. I'll detail those later on, but this is the base strength value of your hacker and is used when resolving the effects of a trace. To the right of this, you place your draw deck. For the runner, this is called your stack. The space to the right of that will be your discard pile, which is called the heap, and your hand of 5 cards is called your grip. Unlike the corporation, the game doesn't end for you if your draw deck is exhausted. However, plugging your brain into a PC comes with risks of its own, and the corporation's defences are able to attack you directly. This is represented by your grip. If your grip ever reaches 0 cards, or if you have 5 brain damage tokens, you are considered to have flatlined and have lost the game. Do you follow all that? The left area over here, this space is what it will be used to represent your rig or your computer that you will use to hack into the corporate servers. Your rig is broken down into 3 rows where you may install cards. The top row is for programs, second one is for hardware, and the last row is for resource cards. Program cards represent offensive and defensive software. Some, like NetShield, are paid abilities, allowing you the chance to pay 1 credit to negate the first point of damage you would receive this turn. Others, like Crypsis, are icebreakers and used specifically to help you get past ice and into corporation servers. Much like NetShield, this is a paid ability. However, on this card, you can see that we can spend clicks or credits to activate the various functions. At the top of program cards, you can see this small icon of a chip with a number in it. That's the memory cost of this card. You start the game with 4 memory units, and cannot install cards with a cost that exceeds this limit. So if you installed this one with a cost of 1 and that one with a cost of 1, you've used up 2 out of your 4 memory limits. That limit can be adjusted by other cards, however. This number down in the bottom left indicates the strength of the icebreaker card. I'll explain that later on when I'm talking about dealing with ice. To install a program, you merely pay the cost indicated here, 2 for that one, 5 for that one, and place it face up in your server. Runner cards are never resed or unresed. Well, I guess they're always unresed, but you know what I mean. There's no resing. It's all face up. The next card for runners is the hardware type. These represent physical components of your computer and installed by simply playing the install cost, shown here, and placing it in your server. Most effects are passive, and unless stated otherwise on the card, you can install multiple pieces of the same hardware to gain additional effect. For example, the Akamatsu Mem chip allows me to increase my available memory units for program installs by 1 and only costs 1 credit. Pardon the pun, but that's a no-brainer if you ask me. The final card type you can install in your rig is the resources card. These represent a variety of connections, assets, skills designed to aid the runner. To install them, just pay the install cost, same place, number 1, and place them face up in your rig. Armitage code busting, for example, allows you to immediately place 12 credits on that card. During your turn, you may then spend 1 of your clicks and take 2 credits for yourself. When you run out of credits on that card, the card's trashed. Runners also have event cards, which are the runner equivalent of the corporation's operations cards. They're played by paying this cost here, 2 in that case, and the results take effect immediately. In the case of the Maker's Eye, you can pay 2 credits to immediately start a run on research and development. If your run's successful, you get to view these 3 cards from the top of the pile instead of just 1. Event cards are trashed as soon as they're played. And that's it for the runner cards. Now we'll get set up and take you how to play through one of their turns. So we've got our identity card, our stack, and our heap. We grab 5 credits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And our click tracker and our little cheat sheet card. We then draw a hand of 5 cards, which is our grip. Remember, if that gets down to nothing, game over. And as with the corporation, we allocate a space for escort agendas. As with the corporation as well, we have an opportunity to mulligan if we don't like our hand, but only once. The runner doesn't get to begin their turn by drawing a card from their stack. However, they do have 4 clicks per turn, so it sort of evens out. They've just got the option not to draw if they don't want to. Actions they can perform include spending 1 click to draw a card from the stack, spending 1 click to gain 1 credit, spending a click to install a piece of hardware, resource, or a program, spend a click to play an event card, spend a click and 2 tokens to remove a tag. Now, if you remember, there are cards, which we'll run through shortly, that will tag the runner. If the runner is tagged, that means the corporation can spend money to... Pretend I've got a program. Program. If I've got a program, the corporation can spend 2 credits to get rid of a... I can't remember if they can do a program. I think they can only do resources. Yeah, it's resources. I just went away and checked. But if it's alright with you, can we just pretend that I knew that off the top of my head? So if you were tagged, you could spend that and 2 credits and remove that tag. Some cards actually allow you to spend a click to perform an action. So if you've got any cards installed that allow that, you can do that as well. And the last thing you can do is to make a run, which is what Netrunner is all about. These vary greatly depending on how your rig's set up and what you encounter on your run, so it's essential that you familiarise Familiarize. I don't even know what that word is. Familiarize yourself with the functions and subtypes of the corporation's ICE and your icebreakers. ICE have 3 important areas of information, and it's probably going to be easier to show you if I actually set up a sample run. So I'm going to just quickly set this up and I'll come back in a second. Okay, so in this theoretical situation, we've got our runner here. Kate has installed a battering ram icebreaker and a Crypsis icebreaker. She's got the Akamatsu mem chip upgrade installed and the job resource, which neither of them are really going to be much use for this demo. Opposite her are the Jinteki Corporation. They've got their discard part. They're all set up. They've got one unknown remote server here that's had 2 advancements placed on it, so could be an agenda, hopefully. They've got one unresed piece of ice and one resed piece of ice. Now, ice cards, as I said, have 3 important pieces of information. The first is the ice subtype, which is displayed up here. I don't know if you can see that. Ice can be either sentry, barrier, code gate, or trap. Sometimes our icebreakers will only work on a particular subtype. For example, this battering ram icebreaker will only affect the barrier type ice subroutine, whereas this Crypsis one will work on anything because it says break ice subroutine. This one says break up to 2 barrier subroutines. The next number you want to note is this one up here. That denotes the strength of the ice. In this case, this piece of ice has got a strength of 5. Unless the icebreaker is of equal or greater strength, this one's 3, so it's less. Unless it's equal or greater, you cannot use it on the ice. On the plus side, most cards, like this one, come with the ability to purchase upgrades. In the case of battering ram versus the Wall of Thorns, we're on 3, they're on 5. It costs 1 credit to get 1 strength for the remainder of this term, so we'd need to spend 2 credits to get it to a point where it could beat it. The next important thing to note are the subroutines. They're indicated by these small arrows here and must be either broken or resolved before you can continue. You can break the subroutines in any order you wish though. So if we were to pay 1 credit and use our Crypsis icebreaker on the Wall of Thorn ice, we can choose to break either the end the run subroutine or do 2 net damage. Now, if we chose to negate the do 2 net damage, then we wouldn't get hurt, but we'd end the run. So it will be a failed run. If we did it the other way around and we chose not to end the run, we would take 2 damage, but we'd be able to continue on with our run. Damage comes in 3 forms: net, meat, and brain damage. Net and meat are pretty much the same thing. Both will indicate how much damage you take, for example 2 net damage, and you simply discard that many hard cards from your grip. Grip's how many cards you got in your hand, remember. Brain damage has the same effect, but you also take one of these zombie brains tokens each time you suffer the attack. This indicates that the maximum number of cards you can hold in your hand has been decreased by 1. Don't forget that if your hand is 0 at the end of your turn, or if you have 5 brain tokens, mean you have to discard all your cards, you've flatlined and you've lost the game. On the plus side, this does happen at the end of your turn, as in you lose the game at the end of your turn. So, if you've got to a point where you're going to lose if you finish your turn, but you make it to the server and you score an agenda, which gets you over 7 points, you win the game immediately. Therefore, it's possible to win even if you're flatlined after taking your victory dance. Alongside damage, some cards indicate a trace or tag effect. Here's one I prepared earlier. For example, this Hunter Ice has a trace 3, and the result of failing that is that it gives the runner 1 tag. When resolving this ice, assuming you couldn't avoid it, you must compare the number indicated on the card, 3 in this case, with the number shown for your base strength for your identity card, 1 for Mac. In this state, Mac would lose and the effects, in this case a tag, would resolve. Before doing that, however, each player has the opportunity to buff their side. So the corporation goes first and may spend as many credits as they want. So it starts as 3, and if they spent 3 credits on the thing, they'd buff it up and now it's 6. Then the runner has the opportunity to do the same for their runner. Once the runner has completed their spend, the numbers are compared and the result decided. Each player only gets 1 chance to buff their side. Okay, so let's run through how you actually do a run, or do a sample run. So I start my run on this server, and the first thing I encounter is this piece of ice. It's already rezzed, so there's nothing for the corporation to do, and I can see it's the Wall of Thorns. I have battering ram installed, and that will let me pay 2 credits to ignore both subroutines. However, I'll also need to spend 2 more credits to increase the strength so that I can use it. At this point, I can decide either to proceed or end my run. No shame jacking off if the internet proves too scary, right? I decide to continue. Well, wouldn't you if you'd already started? Pay the cost from the money that I've already got rid of. So, say I've still got 5. So I decide to pay the 2 to bring it up to speed, and then 2 to get past those 2 subroutines. The ice remains, but I move on to the next piece. This piece isn't rezzed, so I don't know what it is. Again, I must decide whether to continue or end my run. I decide to continue, so now play goes over to the corporation. They have to decide if they want to rezz the ice or leave it as is. If they rezz it, the ice is flipped face up, and I must resolve it the same way I did the previous piece of ice. If I manage to get past that piece of ice too, then I get to review the card and all upgrades on the remote server. If it was an agenda, which it is, blink, blink, there. If it was an agenda, which it is, then I can steal it. If it was a... Nope. 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 One of them's got to be it. Nope. 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 Ah, unbelievable. Right. Say it was... No, that's not it. Say it had a trash value anyway. I could choose to pay 4 credits and trash that card. Once the runner has spent all their clicks, they must discard up to their current grip maximum. As mentioned before, that is your grip minus all your brain damage. Actually, that's a good point. I've been saying that 5... Yeah. So your maximum isn't always 5, because you can actually install cards that will increase your grip. So, all along I've been saying that 5 brain damage tokens is the number that you need to lose the game. It's actually when the number of brain damage tokens is greater than your max. So say I had 2 installed cards that brought my total grip size up to 7, then I'd need 7 brain tokens in order to flatline because of it. Does that make sense? So you can lose by either your grip going down to 0 or the number of brain tokens equaling the maximum size of your grip. Once the runner's turn is complete, play passes back to the corporation. You basically keep playing the game back and forth until someone wins or someone loses. Hope you enjoyed the video. sure to check out our other vids and subscribe below. I'm going to try and do more of these how to play, so if there's something you'd like done, let me know. Tim also does some great watch it play vids, and my kids have a semi-regular show where they go head-to-head in anything from video games to hula hoop competitions, or even this disgusting smoothie challenge. I'll tell you what, if you see that one, you'll be glad that smell doesn't go over YouTube yet. We also have a great website with a bunch of awesome writers at www.anotherdungeon.com. If you want to keep up with our stuff via social media instead, you can find us on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Twitch, you know, all the places. Thank you for watching. Let me know if I made any mistakes. Hope you find it informative. Bye!